What your marketing strategy should be to get new clients. Should I be doing LinkedIn? Should I be doing Facebook? Should I be blogging? And while the answer is yes, you've got to have a strategy.
Paul Green's
MSP Marketing
Podcast.
We're going to start the show this week with a look at what your marketing strategy should be to get new clients. Now, don't be put off by the S word there, the strategy word. The thing is, when most MSPs talk to me about marketing and they ask me questions, they jump straight into tactical questions. Paul, should I be doing LinkedIn? Should I be doing Facebook? Should I be blogging? And while the answer is yes to all of those things, you've got to have a strategy. So actually, this week, next week, and the week after, we're going to look at, I guess I'm kind of calling it the ultimate marketing strategy for MSPs to win new clients. And the reason I'm breaking it into 3 bits is there are actually 3 separate stages, 3 separate steps. So this gives me 10 minutes, a bit of luxury time to go into some of the details, talk about the strategy, what it is, and exactly how you're going to implement it. Because as we know, it's all about the implementation. So this January is kind of acting as a bit of a refresher, because I do think that 2023, it could be an interesting year. It could be a tough year. There's a lot of stuff happening out there with the economy, with interest rates, inflation, cost of living, price increases, all of that stuff. And even though tech traditionally does very well in recessions, and I have no doubt that the channel, as it's so called, will continue to grow, will continue to do well. I don't know about you, but I'd rather not sort of flip a coin on how my business does in any particular year. So we have a very solid marketing strategy for our business, and I want to tell you what your marketing strategy could be. Now, the strategy I'm going to describe to you today and over the next couple of weeks, it's not going to win any awards. I'm not going to win MSP Marketing Strategy of the Year. It's very simple, and that makes it very easy to implement. And the vast majority of MSPs that I speak to, we're talking well over 80%, they don't want complex, clever, multiple touch point campaigns and all that kind of jazz. Some MSPs do, the bigger MSPs do, but the average MSP that I speak to just wants something very simple, which they're going to implement either themselves or they're going to just, get a little bit of help to implement. So that's what I'm going to deliver to you this week, next week, and the week after. So I have a 3-step marketing strategy. You may have heard me talk about this. It's something I try to mention on every podcast, every webinar that I do, but it's so powerful. Let me tell you what the 3 steps are, and then today we'll just look at the first step. So the 3 steps are this. To win new clients, first of all, you must build multiple audiences of people to listen to you. The second thing you must do is build a relationship with those audiences. And then the third thing is to commercialize that relationship. So today I just want to talk about building those audiences. So why do we want to build audiences? Well, the whole point of building audiences is to try and focus all of your marketing effort on people who are in some way listening to you. So if you think about marketing over the last 20, 30 years or so, let me go back to like the late 90s or the mid 90s. The only way to reach an audience in your local town was to advertise in the newspapers. It was to advertise on the radio, maybe the TV, if that was open to you. Go in magazines. It was to put up billboards. It was to go in yellow pages. All of those kind of old-fashioned marketing things that we don't really recommend anymore. But those were your audiences. The audience was the radio station audience, the TV station audience, the newspaper reading audience. Well, here in 2023, things are a little bit different because now you have direct access to the audiences. This is the only reason that media dominated for 70, 80 years was because they controlled access to the audience. If you wanted to reach business owners in your area, you had to pay a media organization to do that. That is not the case these days. So these days we can build our own audiences. And these audiences are never going to be huge, but they are going to be very, very focused and very, very tight audiences. So there are lots of audiences you could build. For example, this podcast is one of my audiences. I have a number of different audiences that I'm constantly cultivating and growing and building. A podcast is an audience. You're probably not going to do a podcast, but just go with me on this. A YouTube channel is an audience. Social media following on a particular channel is an audience. You could take a group, like a local business group. They might have a LinkedIn group, or there might actually be a physical networking meeting where lots of people regularly go. That's still an audience. So anywhere you've got a bunch of people who could go on to be prospects of yours, that's an audience. Now, most MSPs only build one or two audiences. I don't like one of anything because that doesn't give you a backup plan. So you should aim to build at least two audiences. And these are the two that are most likely to be powerful for you. The first is your LinkedIn audience. Now, your LinkedIn audience is literally who you are connected to on LinkedIn. And the easy way to build this audience is, we've talked about LinkedIn so much on this podcast, but you just go and connect to new people. So right now you're looking to connect to around about 7 to 10 people a day, max, because LinkedIn has flipped in the last couple of years from being all about quantity, and now it's very much about quality. So your LinkedIn audience is absolutely an audience to build. Go and find the business owners you most want to do business with and connect with them on LinkedIn. Simple as that. The really smart way of doing this is to find someone else who's already connected to those people. So it might be like an Uber networker, or it might be just a bit, maybe even another MSP or a lawyer or a CPA, an accountant somewhere that's just very well connected on LinkedIn. You connect to them and then you just work your way through their connections. If you find that unethical, then just go looking, start by looking for all the CPAs in your area, then go looking for all the lawyers, then look for all the dentists, then you get the idea. So you can literally work your way around all of the ideal prospects for you on LinkedIn. But the goal is to build and build and build your LinkedIn audience. Now, there is on LinkedIn, if you flip into creator mode, which is a different way of using LinkedIn, that you actually get people following you as well as being connected to you. So creator mode is something relatively new they've introduced within the last year or so. I have it switched on my LinkedIn, and it basically allows me to do things like LinkedIn newsletters. I can go live on video on LinkedIn, and I am a content creator on LinkedIn. And one of the flip sides of that is people can now follow my content without actually being connected to me. Now, whether you switch that on or not, and the only reason you'd switch that on is if you're willing to make a regular commitment to actually doing content. If you have that switched on, that's great. But really, you want to be connected to people. So having people follow you is cool, but for the purposes of what we're talking about here, you want to be connected to people. And when we get down to next week to talk about educating your audience and commercializing your audience the week after, you'll see why you want to be connected to these people. So LinkedIn is your first audience. The second audience that you really want to build is your email database. And again, we've talked about this in the podcast before. You can go and find that. Maybe we'll find some references to it and put some links into the webpage. But building your email audience starts with getting a CRM. Don't overthink it. Just get MailChimp or MailerLite or something basic. ActiveCampaign if you really want a woo tool. Go and get yourself a CRM. Find all the data that you've already got knocking around your business. So look through all your emails, every web form that's been filled in, every business card that's in your desk. Put all of that data into your CRM, and then just set up a system. So every time you meet a prospect, and that could be anywhere, it could be on the phone, it could be through a web form, it could be in real life, you just add their details into your email database. And that's okay to do that. I know you've probably got laws, like there's GDPR here in the UK and in Europe, and you've got anti-spam act in the US, and there's a really strong one in Canada, but it's okay. Most of these laws, and this is not legal advice, but most of these laws are there to stop the guys sending out 10,000 emails a day about Viagra or whatever the latest scam is on emails. They're not really designed to stop you, the average business owner, from adding someone who you have spoken to or had an email exchange with into your newsletter. That's okay. As long as it says unsubscribe at the bottom, it's okay. And if you use a CRM, it's going to say unsubscribe at the bottom. So to recap then, our first strategy of our ultimate MSP marketing strategy is to build multiple audiences. The two audiences I recommend to you are your LinkedIn audience and your email audience. And next week, we're going to look at how you can build a relationship with those audiences.
Paul Green's
MSP Marketing
Podcast.